Hey, welcome back to the kitchen table. This is Dion Miller from Miller Working, and we're here for another teaching. Now, I'm going to talk about something that's a little difficult for me at times to do, and that is casting all of my care upon the Lord. Now, we always have these seasons of life. Things are going good, things are not going good. There's kind of ups and downs. But the thing is, Jesus warned us in John 16:33. I'm going to read this out of the New King James Version. It says, these are red letters, Jesus, "These things I have spoken to you, that in me you may have peace. In the world you will have tribulations, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world." Now, I looked up the definition of tribulation in the dictionary, and it said things like great affliction, trial, distress, and suffering. Well, we have those things. Doesn't matter if you're a believer in Jesus or not. You're going to have these tribulations. But the good news is Jesus has overcome all of this in the world. So let's go to our foundational verse for today in 1 Peter 5:7. And I'm also going to read that out of the New King James Version. There was an old joke about the King James Bible, which I grew up on. And the joke was, well, if it's good enough for Paul, it's good enough for me. I guess maybe that's a dad joke. I don't know. 1 Peter 5:7. "Casting all your care upon him, for he cares for you." Now, if we start breaking down that verse, casting, you might think of casting like going fishing, taking your fishing pole and casting out there. If you look at the definition, it says the act of throwing something forcefully, with force. My mind goes to like the Olympics, and you could see these big guys and gals throwing that 16-pound shot put, from their neck, and they're putting a lot of oomph into that to get that shot put out there. They're throwing it with force. Years and years ago, I went to a Peoria Chiefs baseball game back at the old mining field, and the one thing I remember from that game was there was a ball that was hit the deep left field, and the guy, there was somebody on the bases, and they were going for home, and this guy from deep left field throws the ball like a frozen rope to the catcher and gets the guy out, the base runner out. Man, it's like, that was like the coolest thing I've ever seen at a baseball game. I'm not even really a big baseball fan, but it had some force on it, throwing force. I've also heard the word cast be defined as like a body slam. And if you was like me during the 80s watching wrestling, your mind always goes to like WrestleMania 3, where Andre the Giant and Hulk Hogan were wrestling, and Andre the Giant's like 7'4", over 500 pounds. But part of that match was that Hogan picked up Andre and slammed him to the ground, all with Andre's permission, of course. But man, over 500 pounds, that's incredible. And the whole ring shook when he hit the ground, which is pretty cool. But the whole point is, casting is throwing with force. Now, the second part of that verse, and the next part of this, is you cast all your cares. The thing is, what I'm learning in these recent days is that God is a God of absolutes. And he uses the words like all and never all the time. Let's go to Psalms 34. And let's get there. This is the absolute psalm in my book, because he uses things like all times, all my fears, all my troubles, lack no good things. These are absolutes. There's nothing in between. Psalm 34:19. "Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivers him out of them all." All means all. He's the God of absolutes. So if we take those two definitions, and I believe we can paraphrase the verse 1 Peter 5:7. Let's paraphrase it this way: because Jesus cares for me, I'm supposed to throw all my care upon him with some force and some oomph. And the thing is, that sounds really simple, doesn't it? But what do we do? And I'll say, what do I do? Well, a couple things. First of all, there's times where I don't even cast my care on Jesus in the first place because I think it's too small for him to handle. And then the other times are, well, even if I do cast it on Jesus, I want to go down and pick it back up again and not leave it with him. The thing is, when we do that, we're not really even casting it on him, throwing forcefully in the first place. I just literally just put it down. Like if this football was my care, instead of slamming it to the ground, I just kind of lay it, like right here. Just in case I want to pick it back up again because I don't trust Jesus. So the thing is, what are we saying? What are we really saying when we don't cast our cares upon Jesus? And even though we don't say this with our mouth, it's really what we're doing. We're saying, God, you're just not big enough to handle this particular care. Or we're saying, God, I think I can do a better job of handling this care than you. Now, maybe to illustrate this a little bit further, back when I was in school, I was not that much of an athlete. I was a whole lot skinnier and shorter when I was in school. But, a lot of times the gym teacher would come out, pick two guys, and we always played things like volleyball or wiffle ball, softball, soccer. And he'd just say, you and you pick up two teams. And then all of us guys would stand in a huddle, and these team leaders would pick out, until everybody was chosen. Now, there are three distinct groups within a pickup game. The first group, top tier, if you will, are the athletes. For obvious reasons, they get chosen first because the team lead definitely wants to win. That's the whole goal of it. And then after the athletes are picked, then there's like this middle group, and these people are not as good as the athletes, but they do have a certain amount of skills. And then there's the bottom of the barrel, people that are clumsy or overweight or don't have any skills, geeky kids, and they're picked last. And the only reason they're picked is because you have to pick everybody to make the gym class go. And I don't actually ever remember being picked last, but I was pretty close, next to last for a while. And the only good thing that came out of that was that by the time I got to be a junior, senior in high school, I kind of moved up to that middle rank to the best of my ability. I wasn't certainly the first pick, but I wasn't the last pick. I was kind of in the middle. And the thing is, you go back and think about that now, it's like, man, that was humiliating. It was just embarrassing to kind of be picked almost next to last. Because, what was that really saying? That was, those team leads were saying, it's like, look, I don't trust you to get the job done. I don't think you have many skills. So we're only picking you because we have to. Now, let's go back to our verse. I can almost see when we have a care, Jesus is just kind of standing there waiting. He's waiting on us to say, hey, Jesus, can you help me out with this? And we don't pick him. We don't pick him because I got this. We don't pick him, this is too small for you to worry about, Jesus. And the thing is, that would have to be humiliating and grieving to Jesus to be sitting there waiting, wanting to help, but we don't ask him to. And I've heard it many times saying God is a gentleman. He's not going to force us to do something that we don't want to do. And the thing is, why do we do that? And even though we might not think of it, it really is pride. It just comes down to pride. We have pride in ourselves and our abilities. We have pride in it's kind of like, okay, after I go through all my progression, I'll try to work at just the very best that I can. And then in absolute desperation, when nothing else is working, then I'll come ask you about it, Jesus. And then the other thing is pride is that we're just thinking it's like, this is too little for Jesus. We'll come to you with the big stuff, but we'll handle with the little stuff. And so I thought about it. It's like, all right, well, why do we have this pride? Well, if you're kind of a handy person around the house, you have skills, you can do a lot of things. Or if you're a problem solver, if you're a fixer, if you're a go-getter, if you're a type A personality, if you're self-motivated, if you're self-driven, if you fall into any of those categories, this verse might be difficult to navigate because you're using these God-given abilities, but you're using them in your own power. But that's not what the verse says. The verse says, cast all your care upon him, not just the big ones. The other side of the spectrum is that if you have low self-esteem, you don't think much of yourself, you're a wallflower, you choose to be hiding in the shadows, not standing out in the crowd, you might think this verse is difficult to navigate because you don't think God cares enough about you, that your cares are not worth God's time. But see, then again, that's not what the verse says. The verse says, cast all your cares on him. Now, the thing is, I think it's easier for us to cast our big cares upon him when we don't really have a solution, when our back's up against the wall, we don't have any other avenue. I think it's easier to cast those cares upon him because it's just beyond our capacity to deal with them. But the thing is, we got to cast all of our cares, even the small ones. Because if we're not, we're operating in pride. Now, what's the opposite of pride? It's humility. So that's why we need to go back and read the previous verse. So let's go back to 1 Peter 5:6. You're probably already there. 1 Peter 5:6 out of the New King James Version says, therefore humble yourselves under the mighty hand of God, that he may exalt you in due time. See, the humbling comes before the casting. Let's read those two verses together in tandem. Verse 6, therefore humble yourselves under the mighty hand of God, that he may exalt you in due time, casting all your care upon him, for he cares for you. The humbling comes before the casting. And who does the humbling? Us. You know, King David, if you go back and read in the Old Testament, King David got himself into a whole heap of trouble when he decided to mess around with Bathsheba and get her pregnant, decided to kill her husband and all that kind of stuff. And he got called out on the carpet by Nathan the prophet. But after he was convicted of his sin, David wrote Psalms 51. Let's go to Psalms 51. I'm going to read this out of the New Living Translation, NLT. Psalm 51, 3 and 4. For I recognize my rebellion. It haunts me day and night. Against you and you alone have I sinned. I have done what is evil in your sight. You will be proved right in what you say, and your judgment against me is just. See, the thing is, David was humble. David humbled himself. And when we become humble, we start to have that knowledge that you are God and I am not. So let's go to Psalms 25. We'll stay in the NLT version. And verses 1 and the first half of 2. See, when we're humble, we can truthfully read these verses and mean it. Psalm 25, verse 1. O Lord, I give you my life. I trust in you, my God. If you mean that, then you're being humble. Let's go down a couple verses, verses 8 and 9. Here's what the Lord says he'll do for us. Verse 8, the Lord is good, does what is right. He shows the proper path to those who go astray. He leads the humble in doing right, teaching them his way. If we're humble, the Lord promises that he will show us the right path. He will lead us, he'll guide us, if we're humble. Now, here's the thing. Casting your care upon the Lord just doesn't mean that, hey, once you give it to him, that you just sit back and do absolutely nothing. Casting means that you're giving it to him and then waiting for him to direct me to do something specific. He might direct me to do something specific. He likely will direct other people to do something specific while you're in the casting and the waiting. But the point being is that he is doing the directing, not us. Maybe an example would be like, hey, I need a job. Lord, I need a job. And Lord, help me. Where should I even go try to apply for a job? And that's when you cast that care upon, you seek him, but you're asking him. And if he gives you some direction, or when he gives you some direction, you have to go fill the applications out. You have to go make inquiries. You have to go talk to people. I mean, the Lord's not going to do all that for us, but he's directing us on which way to go. And then he's directing people, hey, take a chance on this guy. Hey, you need him for your team. There's God's part, there's our part. So it just doesn't mean that we just sit back and do nothing and just wait in the house till something comes. Kind of the last point here. The humbling leads to the casting, and that casting cuts off the worrying. So let's go to Matthew 6, 31 through 33. Once again, these are red letters, Jesus speaking, part of the whole Sermon on the Mount. Verse 31, talking about worry. So don't worry about these things, saying, what will we eat? What will we drink? What will we wear? These things dominate the thoughts of unbelievers, but your heavenly Father already knows all your needs. Seek the kingdom of God above all else and live righteously, and he will give you everything you need. This is talking about clothes, food, drink, but we worry about a lot more stuff than that. But the thing is, it doesn't matter, because the same God is in charge of all that as well. All the other things we worry about. Let's go back to Psalm 24. And verse 1. The earth is the Lord's and everything in it. The world and all of its people belong to him. See, he's a big God. And we're just little humans. We are his creation. He's a big God. Anything that we worry about, we can cast as a care upon him. And he's going to work in our behalf because he loves us. I mean, that's the whole thing. All this is built upon love. He loves us. That's why he wants us to cast our cares upon him. And because he's such a big God, the thing is, I need to humble myself and realize that he's God and I'm not. I need to cast all my care upon him because he cares for me. And then I need to cut off that worry because I've casted it, because I've cast it. I body slammed it. I cast it. It's on him. And I'm waiting for him to tell me what to do. And then lastly, Psalms 23:1. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He's my shepherd. He's a big God. He can take care of me. I just need to trust him. Thanks for joining. Thanks for listening. Have a great day. We'll catch you next time.